What if we got rid of all of the things that are unnecessarily burdening us or taunting us or reminding us of where we're not yet or where we used to be? And what if we can make space to move forward with a lighter load? It just makes sense. I'm Jenna Kutcher, your host of the Goal Digger podcast. I escaped the corporate world at the age of 23 with nothing more than a $300 camera from Craigslist and a dream. Now I'm running a 7-figure online business that feels even better than it looks, all from my house in small town Minnesota with my family. Here, we value time as our currency. We mix the woo and the work, and we are in the pursuit of building businesses that give us the freedom to live lives that we love. I've always loved turning big goals into reality, and I'm here to help you do the same. This isn't just a peek behind the curtain. Come along with me and my guests as we tear the whole curtain down. Every week, we tackle practical, no-fluff marketing strategies and host honest discussions on what works and what doesn't. Join me and my expert guests for actionable insights to help you grow your dream business with confidence. Pull up a seat and get ready to be challenged, inspired, and empowered. This is the Goal Digger podcast. Spring isn't just about deep cleaning your home. It's about clearing mental and emotional clutter too. Research actually shows that spring cleaning can boost your mood, increase your productivity, and even reduce stress levels. There is something about longer days and fresh air that makes us crave a reset. So let's take advantage of that energy. In this episode, I'm walking you through my ADHD-friendly, no BS approach to spring cleaning, and not just your space, but your business and your life too. But here's the twist. This isn't about organizing more. It's about questioning everything. What if the real reason you feel stuck isn't clutter, but the way you're spending your time? What if cutting one thing from your schedule could give you back hours every week? And what if the best way to move forward isn't adding something new, but letting go of something that's weighing you down? I'll share the surprising shift that helped me work less and get more done, why I stopped saying yes to every exciting idea, even the good ones, and the mindset shift that lets me pivot without guilt. If you're ready for a fresh start without the overwhelm, well, let's dive on in. So last night, I was getting ready to put the girls to bed, and Quinny looks outside and points out the window, and she's like, Mom, it's not time for bed. The sun is still out. And oh my gosh, I just took a minute and took a deep breath. And I was like, we made it. We made it through another winter. And there is something so beautiful after coming out of what feels like a cave where it is dark at 8 a.m. and it is dark at 3 p.m., where you just feel like you survived. And if you don't live in a very cold, very dark climate, you might not know the feeling that a lot of us are experiencing, but it is this feeling of survival, a feeling of awe, a feeling of delight. And man, I'm going to take this energy as far as I can. But I just really believe that after winter, there is just this revival in such a beautiful way. And if we can learn how to harness that power in our lives, in our businesses, in our priorities, I feel like we can have that January 1st feeling anytime we want it, but especially during the spring season. And so today I am going through a 4-step process. This is like a no BS, somewhat hot take, ADHD-friendly process of what I think you should do if you have this renewed sense of energy to really harness its power and to continue carrying you forward. Because I can't believe how fast this year is flying. I was just texting with 2 of my best friends, and one of them was just saying like, wow, I've been feeling so much better lately. And I was like, have you paused to think about like the difference of energy and light and weather between winter and spring? And all of a sudden we were all just like, wow, this is big. And how can we take this energy? And so that is what helped inspire today's show. Okay, so step number 1 is this: delete before you declutter. And this is why I think we all need a burn list. Here's my hot take. We focus so much, spring cleaning is like so generalized around this idea of like cleaning and decluttering and organizing. And I'm like, okay, I love all of this, but like, what if we just delete? Like we waste so much time trying to organize things in our lives that should be donated or trashed or just like out of our lives. And what's interesting is this thought that is a unique take on what clutter is. Clutter isn't just stuff. It's unmade decisions. It's things that are sitting around in your life or in your business that you have not had the opportunity to decide, is this important? Is this useful? Is this worth keeping? And so what happens is that we move through our days and we move through our lives with all of this clutter around, and all that it's doing is signaling to our brains that you haven't made a decision yet. And one thing I've been unpacking a lot in therapy and with friends is with my ADHD, I really experience decision fatigue. I used to kind of laugh thinking like, is that a thing? It's a thing. It's a thing. And at the end of the day, if I've used all my decision-making skills up throughout the day, like I am done. The other night, Drew asked me something about making Coco's lunch. And I was just like, I can't. I literally can't. And so when we start to look at clutter, not just as like stuff around our house, but if we look at it as unmade decisions, we start to see how clutter can add unnecessary weight to our mental load. It can add unnecessary weight to our lives. And moving through our life with all of this clutter is actually a burden. If your desktop looks like a crime scene, like you are embarrassed like I am, or your closet has clothes that maybe might fit you someday, or you're looking at like that dress that you bought for you don't even know what event you were planning on going to, and it's just hanging in your closet reminding you that you haven't wore it yet. Or maybe your business tools are like this Frankenstein mashup of unused subscriptions and project management software that you don't even know how to use. Here's what I think. I think it is time for a burn list. I want for you to literally make a burn list. This is step number 1 in your spring cleaning. Make a list of things that you are holding on to or you are keeping out of guilt, out of habit, or out of FOMO. Guilt, habit, or FOMO. This is what is probably accountable for most of the clutter in your home. And then once you have a list or a pile, however you want to do it, here's what I want you to do. Delete, donate, or delegate. So guilt, habit, and FOMO can turn into delete, donate, or delegate. There is this rule that I learned in terms of spring cleaning. I think I saw it online, and it is the would I buy this today rule. If I wouldn't spend money on this thing right now, then I need to let it go. And I think this is really huge. And I have this tendency within myself, and I'm about to just throw myself under the bus here, that I have a really hard time letting go of things that I have previously invested in. So for example, this is embarrassing, in a tote in our basement, I still have a pair of jeans that I remember buying that were very expensive for me at the time. And I can't let them go. I just remember saving my pennies to buy that pair of jeans. And so the would I buy this today rule would suggest that I should absolutely let go of those jeans that are 2 decades old and clear up space for something that I would enjoy today. And so what I love about this first step is that instead of just moving things around in your life, in your mind, in your business, what if we got rid of all of the things that are unnecessarily burdening us or taunting us or reminding us of where we're not yet or where we used to be? And what if we can make space to move forward with a lighter load? It just makes sense. So I have this really weird tendency, and if anyone else has this, can you reach out to me and just let me know this? Because I feel like I'm the only person. I hoard packaging. Like if somebody sends me something and it comes in like a beautiful box, I tell myself, I'm going to use this box for something. This box is like so beautiful. Somebody spent a lot of time designing this box. And so I am someone who, I swear to God, I hoard packaging like a squirrel preparing for winter. And most of the time, it ends up just being a stack of like beautiful boxes that I never use again. I will literally tell Drew sometimes, like, if you just see empty boxes and there's nothing in them, can you just throw them away? Don't even tell me about them because I'm going to try to think of a reason that I can use them. And it comes from a beautiful place, right? Like, I want to reduce, reuse, recycle any chance I can get. But oftentimes it just adds to clutter, or it just serves as a reminder of like, I haven't done that yet. Another example of me needing to delete is I was speaking at a workshop and I had to hand the tech guys my laptop and my speech was on there, and they plugged in my laptop and up popped my desktop with probably 500 screenshots and files and documents sitting on my desktop. Like, I can't even minimize my Google Chrome window because it gives me so much anxiety. And I saw this thing the other day where it was like, for the people that have ADHD and have 10,000 screenshots, but then the screenshots become the burden because they know there are so many waiting for them and they never go back to visit them, and then they just pile up. That is me. And so what I am in need of, and I'm claiming this for myself this spring, is before I go to declutter anything, I need to delete and take my burn list and get rid of the stuff that is holding me back. And for me, this is like very significant. Like, I feel like when my life and when my home is cluttered, I feel the weight of it. Like, it mentally weighs on me because the fact that it is unmade decisions exhausts me. And so this is step number one of our process: delete before we declutter. So again, the three things you need to look for are things you are holding on to, whether it's in your life or your business, out of guilt, out of habit, or out of FOMO, and then delete, donate, or delegate. And I will say too, when you can find amazing places to donate to in your local community and you know that those donations make a difference, it makes donating so much more fun. And so I actually brought in a bag of stuff to my favorite place in Duluth, Damiano Center, when I was volunteering the other day. Every single month, I try to just bring in a bag of useful things. I brought in a bunch of mugs that the soup kitchen can use, and it makes getting rid of stuff a lot more joyful. So find a place in your local community that can use quality donations, and spring cleaning just got a lot more joyful, and you just made an impact in your local community. I bet you didn't start your business to spend your days stressing over things like payroll. Like, I've been there before, tax deadlines creeping up, wondering if I filled out something wrong. It is not fun. That's why you've got to try Gusto. Gusto is the all-in-one platform that takes care of payroll, benefits, and HR so that you can actually focus on your business. Whether you're paying W-2s or 1099s, Gusto makes it simple. You can even offer health insurance and 401k options that work for nearly any budget. Gusto automatically files and pays all of your taxes across federal, state, and local levels, so you don't have to cross your fingers and hope that you got it right. Plus, their support team is made up of confident, certified HR experts, so help is always there when you need it. Over 400,000 businesses, including mine, trust Gusto because it's just easy. You set it, forget it, and get back to doing what you love. If you've been putting off getting this part of your business figured out, Gusto's got you. Right now, they're offering 3 months free when you run your first payroll. Head to gusto.com/goaldigger to get started. That's gusto.com/goaldigger. I know firsthand what it's like to build a business from the ground up. And you know what? Having the right platform makes all of the difference. For millions of businesses, that platform is Shopify. It's the powerhouse behind brands that you know and love, with the #1 checkout in the world and Shop Pay, which can boost conversions by up to 50%, meaning way less carts going abandoned and way more sales going. Selling isn't just about having a great product, it's about making it easy for people to buy. And Shopify does just that. Whether you're selling on your website, in-store, or straight from your Instagram feed. Businesses that sell more sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout we use with Shopify. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/goaldigger, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/goaldigger to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/goaldigger. Okay. Step number 2 for spring cleaning. Now, this is not going to shock you. I love this principle so much. I made an entire episode about it, but I want to flip it. So the principle is Pareto's principle. I talk about it often because I think it shows up in every area of our life, but especially in our business. And so step number 2 is the 80-20 time audit. And basically what I want us to do is to fire half of our to-do list. So here's my hot take here. You don't need more time. You need to quit half of what you're doing. Most of us waste 80% of our time on things that bring 20% of results. Again, I'm going to link to the episode that I did about this principle and the places it might be showing up in your business. But I truly believe that we are spending so much time on things that aren't actually providing us results. Things like answering emails, overthinking instead of executing, waiting for perfection. There's so many tasks that feel urgent and important, but when we really dial it back, it's likely not actually giving us any sort of result. And so what I would argue here is that the problem isn't a lack of time. It's that we're working on the wrong stuff. And so this part of your spring cleaning process is doing an 80-20 work audit. And so if you have not tracked your time recently, and for a lot of people, I would argue that most entrepreneurs probably haven't impeccably tracked their time in years. I'm throwing that out there. What I think you and I need to do is list everything we do in a week. And then at the end of the week, highlight what actually drives results and look for ways to cut out the rest. When you can actually look in an audit and honestly assess and see where your time is going, one, I think you're going to be shocked at some tasks that in your brain you're thinking, oh, that only takes 20 minutes or 30 minutes. And you're going to see that it takes you hours. But you're also going to start to connect the dots of where your efforts are actually leading to real results. And so when you can highlight and trace your effort to a tangible result, whether that is a sale or a subscriber or a new client or a new connection, you're going to find opportunities to cut out the rest, whether that is through offloading and delegating to someone else in your life or just fully eliminating. So one way to effectively start to see where you can get more time out of your days is called the time cap method. And this works so well, whether you have ADHD or not, but this works especially well if you are someone who has ADHD or might be suspecting that you do. So the time cap method is this. You look at your tasks of what you need to get done for the day, and you give every task a very strict time cap. So you say, I'm going to give myself 15 minutes for emails or 2 hours of deep work. Now, Parkinson's law is essentially the idea that your projects will expand to the amount of time that you give them. And so Parkinson's law is going to jump in your favor and force you to get things done faster. Now, I do this in both business and life, especially around tasks that I am absolutely dreading. Because one thing I've realized is that when I am dreading something or I'm putting something off and I'm not actually getting it done, the mental weight of that is so heavy that it keeps me from being productive in the areas that I want to be productive in. Again, it's kind of like that clutter, but showing up in a more mental way. And so the time cap method is so good. I actually have these timers, and it's so funny because we've had to order more of them because my daughters have stolen them, that are really beautiful, colorful from Amazon. And I will set the timer and I will set it for 15 minutes or 20 minutes or an hour. And then I will put my phone in another room, literally remove it, open up one tab on Google Chrome and force myself to work in that tab until that task is done. And so the time cap method can be super effective, especially for things that you're putting off, whether it's making your doctor's appointment or canceling that subscription or sitting down and responding to that email that you've been thinking about for 5 days. And so time cap method, try it out. I think it's going to help you to stop overthinking and actually get into a place of action. And one thing that I found is that when I do this and I get into a state of action, it is a lot easier for me to stay in action. Oftentimes it kind of breaks the seal on that feeling of like, I can't get this done and I'm not executing, and gets you into that place of execution and gets you away from overthinking. The final tool for this take is the 2-hour challenge. So I recently did this unintentionally and it was so helpful for me. It also reminded me so much of my postpartum days after having my daughters. So the 2-hour challenge is thinking through, what if you only had 2 hours to work each day? And the thought is that you want to stack your most important tasks in those 2 hours. And I recently did this because we went on a winter break and we went to Florida, and I really focused on being super present with my kids. And so it was a standard week in my business. And so what I was doing is like, once the kids were occupied and playing with each other, which they do really well these days, blessed, I love these ages, they're ages 3 and 6. Once they started playing with each other and kind of got lost in their own little world, I would crack open my laptop and I would get to work. And I would work very quickly and very effectively because I didn't know how much time I had. And so each day I was essentially working about 2 hours a day because my daughters do a 1 hour quiet time. So I got 1 hour and then whatever time I could sneak. And I got so much work done and I didn't feel like I was falling behind, like nothing burned down. And so the 2-hour challenge is this. And honestly, this is smart for many different reasons, but thinking through, if I only had 2 hours to work today, what am I going to do first? And I would argue to set a timer and block that time for your deep work, because there are different studies done that say that you only can get a few hours of deep work done each day. Like, the human being is not meant to try to do like deep work for hours upon hours upon hours. And this makes sense. And I learned this years ago in Marie Forleo's Time Genius program, where she was just talking about this, and it totally freed me up to recognize like, hey, if I stack my day with just a few hours of like deep, impactful work, it's okay if the rest of the day has some of the lighter tasks and things in it, but I want to block and plan for just a few hours. And so the 2-hour challenge is just a really good challenge to make sure that you're setting your priorities well, to get that deep work done, to start with what is most important first, and then use whatever remaining time you have for the other tasks. So I would challenge you, 80-20 time audit, fire half of your to-do list or figure out ways to eliminate or delegate, and then make sure that we are focusing the time that we do have, whether it's limited or unlimited, on the things that are actually moving the needle the most. And I think that you're going to actually see that you have more time than you've been thinking. It's going to feel really freeing when you do this. Okay. Step number 3 for spring cleaning, according to me, is stop saying yes. Okay. So I have been looking at business with an MVB approach, which is the minimum viable business approach. I am not a maximalist, especially when it comes to business. Okay. We've all seen those like TJ Maxx commercials. A maximalist, not me. I have been riding this minimum viable business approach for the last 6 years, and it has changed my life. It has unlocked freedom, and it has given me the type of business that allows me to do the things that I want to do most. Like last night, I was going to bed and I was thinking, my business right now is the least interesting thing about me. Like, my life is so full and free that my business, it kind of feels like an afterthought. And I say that in the best way possible. So my hot take around this is, if you have too many ideas, you do not need more inspiration or more information. You need bigger blinders. Like, I want to turn up your blinders even bigger to block out all of the things that are pulling your attention in a million different ways. The best business owners do not chase every idea. What they do is they focus on building their minimum viable business. This means stripping it down to the essentials and then doubling down on what works. I recently did an episode about how you can create an incredible business without constantly creating new things, new ideas, new content, going deeper on what you already have instead of going wider. And I truly believe that that is behind my success. It's also behind the reason why I'm not constantly burnt out or feeling like a hamster on a wheel. And for me, this happened both by choice and chance, is how I say it. So when I finally became a mom 6 years ago, I had already set up different systems in my business and I already had offers that were working. And so each year of motherhood, I would look at my calendar and I would basically just put those offers and drop them into my calendar. And for the last 6 years, I've essentially run my business by doing one launch each quarter. So 4 launches a year. And what's crazy to me and probably to you is that I haven't created a new offer in nearly 6 years. So the business that I had 6 years ago when I first became a mom is still the business I have today. Now, what does this mean? It doesn't mean that my courses are the same courses they were 6 years ago. In fact, I'm re-recording a course as we speak, but my offers keep getting better and stronger, and the marketing around them and the systems around them keep getting better. And so I have been able to go so deep on the things that I know work instead of getting scattered on a million different ideas. And trust me when I say, if you're listening to this and you're like, Jenna, you don't know me. I'm so multi-passionate. I can't be put into a box. I have all of these ideas. I'm just oozing with ideas. I get it. I am the same way. But I have taught myself and trained myself to look at how to get the biggest impact out of what is already existing. I've basically trained myself how to dig for gold in my business as it is. And what's beautiful about that is that I am never reinventing the wheel. I am always working from what has already worked and making it better. And so in the last 6 years, the evolution of my products and my business has been beautiful. I will say it's been peaceful. It's been ease-filled. And that doesn't mean that it hasn't been without work, but the brunt of the work, the creation of the idea, bringing the idea to life was done. And so I had to choose to fall in love with other aspects of my business, like the marketing and the data and the system around it. And I had to make all of those things sexy to someone who can be like squirrel with a new idea. And it has given me and unlocked the freedom. And I think so many entrepreneurs want and crave the freedom. And yet what's happening is either knowingly or unknowingly, they're creating chaos because they're constantly chasing the new ideas. And so here are the 2 things I want you to do around this idea. So the MVB, again, the minimum viable business test. So if you had to cut your business in half today, what would you keep? What offers or products or services would you keep? And I want for you to start there. I want for you to start thinking about how can you go deeper with those offers? How can you get better results with them? How can you make them better? How can you market them better? Not creating something new, but if you had to cut your business in half today, and I said you can only keep half of your offers, which ones are you keeping? And do you know your numbers clearly enough to know which ones are moving the needle the most? Again, promise you, Pareto's principle is at play in your business. So if you do the 80-20 time audit, maybe you look at where the 80-20 rule is jumping into your business in terms of 20% of your offers are probably giving you 80% of your results. That's where you want to start. And so looking at how can I streamline processes? How can I create more efficiencies? How can I make the funnel or the marketing better? How can I promote this better and get the awareness better? So the MVB test is where you want to start. The someday maybe graveyard is step 2. And this is something I want for you to create. And this has been a life changer for me. So instead of chasing every good idea that somebody tells you or you hear on a podcast or your mom suggests, what I want for you to do is to park it for 3 months. I was literally on a coaching call with one of my coaching clients, and I told them they had to do this. I told them they had to literally sit on their hands for 90 days. And if that idea still excites you in 90 days, you can revisit it. You can look at how it's going to fit into your life and business. But this was a person who was believing this lie of, if I am not constantly creating, I am not valuable. I am not relevant. And I think a lot of us can relate to that. And so I actually have a notebook of ideas, and you can imagine over the last 6 years, this notebook is quite full. But what is so interesting is that a lot of times entrepreneurs create chaos, again, either knowingly or unknowingly, and they perpetuate those lies of like, I have to constantly be creating something new to be relevant. And so if you get an idea and you're still excited about it 3 months from now, that is a good sign that you should start to pursue it. But what we tend to do is we start to chase that new idea and we abandon all of the other things that we've created that are amazing. We abandon all of the other plans that we've created. We abandon the vision of the year that we had, and we almost drop a bomb on the goodness that already exists in pursuit of something new. I was watching Love is Blind the other day, and someone was talking about just this idea of online dating these days and how people have trouble committing to something because there's always that thought of like, if I just swipe one more time, maybe that person, maybe there's somebody better. Or I have somebody in my life who's a friend of mine who cannot make a decision to save her life. And so she was looking for a new rug for her home, and she found one that she liked on page 2. And yet 2 hours later, she's on page 36 because there's a fear that there's something better. Even though she found something she liked and she could have just locked it in, bought it, and moved on, there is that fear of like, there might be something better out there. And so when we start to chase the new idea, thinking there's something better out there, we are abandoning all of the goodness that we have worked so hard for. And so create a someday maybe graveyard, whether it's a note on your phone, whether it is an actual notebook, and park your ideas, write them down, get them out of your head so that you're not worried you're going to forget them. And I'd argue if you do forget them, it probably wasn't that great of an idea in the first place. But if it still excites you, revisit them. And maybe every couple months you schedule an hour to look at those ideas and see what still feels in alignment for you. Having pauses in my life as someone who can get excited, who can move fast, who can say yes easily, has totally alleviated so much of the stress. And I've had to learn this sometimes the hard way. I remember when I used to be a part of paid masterminds, when I left every meeting, I would come back and my team would get so anxious and overwhelmed because I would come back from these meetings and be like, we're going to do a membership, we're going to do a mastermind, we're going to host an event, like all of these big ideas. And I didn't take the time to, one, put those ideas through a filter of like, is this in alignment with what I consider success? Does this fit into the bigger picture that I have for my life and for this year? And I also wasn't really being clear as to like, what is the priority? And I remember when I became a mom, not only did my priorities get a lot clearer, but I hired on my right-hand team member, Marissa, who is so good at pushing back to me when necessary and saying, okay, I hear you. You want to do this thing, but I just want to make sure that you're cool with letting these other important things go. Because if we're going to pursue this new thing, it means that we're not going to be able to do these other things. And so I just want to be clear, that's exactly what you want. And most of the time when she challenges me, I recognize, oh, wait, no, I don't want to abandon those good things. Wait, no, maybe this wasn't the idea. So do the MVB test. If your business had to cut in half today, what are you going to keep? And create your someday maybe graveyard. And don't let those ideas clutter up your mind. Don't let those ideas be undetermined decisions. Park your ideas somewhere safely so you can release them from your brain. You can free up that brain space, and then you can revisit them later and see if they are still exciting to you. It's 2025, and we all know how loud the B2B marketing space has gotten. It's not just enough to run ads. You need to make sure that they're actually reaching the right people. That's why I love LinkedIn ads. You're not just throwing your message out and hoping it sticks. You can get super specific, targeting by job title, industry, or even the exact company you want to work with. There are over 130 million decision makers and 10 million C-level execs on LinkedIn. These are the people who can actually say yes to your offer. And it's not just who you reach, it's the results you get. In the tech industry, LinkedIn ads delivered up to 5 times the return on ad spend compared to other platforms. I mean, 79% of B2B content marketers say LinkedIn gives them the best paid media results. So if you're ready to cut through the noise and get your ads in front of the people who matter, LinkedIn ads is the way to go. Start converting your B2B audience into high quality leads today. We'll even give you a $100 credit on your next campaign. Go to linkedin.com/goal to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/goal. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be to be. Winter is finally loosening its grip, but our skin is feeling the effects. Dry, tight, flaky. It's the worst. As the seasons shift, so should our skincare, and that's why I'm obsessed with Osea's TikTok famous Underia Algae Body Butter. This isn't just any moisturizer. It is rich and deeply nourishing, but it melts in instantly. I'm talking no greasy residue, just soft and happy skin. And the scent of it, it is a bright, refreshing blend of grapefruit, lime, and mandarin. Pro tip, I keep my Osea body butter right next to our shower. As soon as I dry off, I slather it on to lock in the moisture and my skin stays soft all day. I've even caught Drew sneaking some. Osea uses powerhouse ingredients like Underia seaweed and ceramides, the kind of things that are usually reserved for high-end facial products, because your skin deserves that level of TLC. Treat yourself to clean, clinically tested skincare from Osea. And right now we have a special discount just for our listeners. Get 10% off your first order site-wide using the code GOLDDIGGER at oseamalibu.com. That's OSEA Malibu.com and use the code GOLDDIGGER. Okay, the final step of my spring cleaning process comes with permission. I'm giving you a permission slip to pivot without guilt and to let things go that are not working or that are not serving you. So here's my hot take. Sticking with something just because you started it is sunk cost thinking. It is not strategy. That is not a strategy. Just because you started something does not mean you have to finish it. It also doesn't mean you're a quitter. Most people stay stuck because they feel guilt about quitting. But in reality, the most successful people pivot faster. What got you here might not get you to where you want to go. I am the queen of pivots. I love a good pivot. Pivoting makes me happy. I love pivoting because I believe pivoting is the way that we stay in alignment with what our lives are offering, what our definition of success truly is, and it allows us to pause long enough to assess, is a pivot needed or should I stay on pace? So here's how I want for you to think about this. There is a check-in that I want for you to do. And this has been so helpful for me because I feel like the seasons and the stages of motherhood are so fleeting that the goals that I might have set on January 1st might be out of alignment by May 5th. Okay. And so the first check-in is the still right for future me check-in. Ask yourself if this path still aligns with your vision. So if staying in alignment with what you were starting on or what you wanted to do, is that still in alignment with your vision? Does that still make sense for you? And so a lot of times we focus so much on what we want things to look like that we don't stop and ask ourselves, how do I actually want this to feel? How does the future me want to feel? How do I want to get there? And so when you start looking at the things that you're working on or the paths that you're taking, asking yourself, pausing long enough to do a check-in and see if this is still right for the future you and what you want for your future, and making sure that the path that you're on is still in alignment with your definition of success and what you want for your next stage or your next level. For me, I've really had to kind of loosely set my goals and do them quarterly. And again, my life feels like it changes so quickly. Like my kids change so fast. Their needs for me change really fast. The rhythms that feel good for me change. And so when I can pause and be like, okay, is this really how I want to end the year? Does this still feel right? It allows me to either let go of things that don't feel in alignment anymore or to pivot the strategy that we're using. The second piece for this one is the permission slip method. Literally write down. I want for you to write on a piece of paper and put it somewhere where you can see it, whether it's your bathroom mirror or on your desk. I give myself permission to change my mind. I give myself permission to change my mind. This is so beautiful. It sounds silly, right? It sounds way too simple. But when we give ourselves permission to change our minds, it allows us the freedom to pivot when it's necessary, or heck, when we want to. We often stay stuck in relationships, in careers, in projects, in plans way too long because we feel like we committed and we must follow through or else we are a quitter or a failure. And I think that changing your mind shows that you are learning and you're paying attention. I think changing your mind is one of the most beautiful things you can do. I look back in so many places, even on this podcast, places that I have contradicted myself or I've just changed my mind or opinion. And I see that as growth. I see that as someone who is not afraid to change my mind. And so giving yourself permission to change your mind or to change your plans or to change your goals is so beautiful because it allows you to release the things that weren't right for you or that no longer feel in alignment. And it makes space and time and freedom for the things that are right. And so literally write it down. I give myself permission to change my mind. I was actually just telling my daughters this of like, you can change your mind anytime. And it was funny because Quinny opened up a yogurt, started eating it. And then she's like, never mind. I want a meat stick. I can change my mind. And it was so beautiful because it was just, very quickly applied to a toddler's mind. But at the same point too, I want to show my kids and I want to show myself, you're not stuck. You're not stuck. And what's so curious to me is that we go into entrepreneurship to have like the ultimate freedom, the freedom to make our plans and to create new ideas and to create the life we want. And oftentimes we feel stuck. And I would argue that we are the people in our own way. We're keeping ourselves stuck. The last thing of this rule is the 90-day rule. And if you're catching on a trend, I just feel like so much can happen in 90 days. You can realize that ideas are not right, but this is a different 90-day rule. So if something is stressing you out, find a way to change it for 90 days. Commit to 90 days. See what happens. If something doesn't feel right for you anymore, how can you change it? And just see what a new path might reveal to you. What would it look like if you gave yourself time to create different habits around it or different beliefs around something, or if you could just let it go for 90 days and come back to it again, right? The cool thing about life is that we have the autonomy to make decisions and to create change. And for some of us, we have more privilege in that area than others. But if there is something that just is really stressing you out, maybe push it. If there's a launch that is looming and you're like, this doesn't feel right, push it for 90 days. See what happens. If there's a project that you are working on and you're not making a lot of progress, what if you worked on it for 10 minutes a day, 90 days? That can change. What if you change the way that you approached your day and maybe flip things on its head so that the things that are at the bottom of your to-do list move to the top? Whatever that is, try a different strategy and revisit it next quarter. This is exactly why I love doing quarterly goals and quarterly plans so that I don't get too far ahead of myself and then feel stuck, or so that I don't do unnecessary work and then let the sunk cost fallacy hit into play and say, well, you've already gone this far, you might as well finish it. It allows me to pause and check in each quarter and say, okay, this was the initial goal I set. Does this still feel right? Do I want to change my mind? Do I need to pivot? What does that look like? And so I want to lean more on strategy than sunk cost thinking. And I think that is how you are going to be successful. We recently had this happen at the end of last year. I was already looking ahead to this year, thinking through, okay, what do I want my plans to be? And as I was working on it, I was like, wait a minute, I think I want to redo how I'm doing my launches. Now, keep in mind, I've done basically the same schedule, the same system for the last 6 years. And all of a sudden last year, as I'm revisiting this, I'm like, wait, I think I want to change things up. Now, this doesn't sound like a big deal, but it kind of was because my VP, my right hand, was on maternity leave. So I did not have a sounding board. I did not have somebody to run these plans by. And what was interesting is that my gut and making that decision to pivot and to change the strategy was probably the best decision that we made for this year. I think it changed the entire tune of this year. And all it was looking at the next 90 days and saying, okay, what makes the most sense here? I think I'm going to change something up. Best move I made as a business owner in the last year, I think. And so letting it go, not sticking with something just because you started it, and really leaning on strategy so that you have the agility and the wherewithal to pivot if and when it is needed. Spring cleaning, baby. Let's do it. All right, quick recap of what we covered today. So number 1, delete before you declutter. Before you declutter your closet, go through and eliminate anything that you can donate. Get it out of there so that as you organize, you're only organizing the things that you love. Next, the 80-20 time audit, firing half of your to-do list so that you can unlock more time. You don't need more time. You need to quit half of what you're doing. Number 3, stop saying yes. Figure out what is your minimum viable business and how can you start moving forward with that so that you can go deeper and not wider. And lastly, permission to pivot without guilt. If you follow these 4 things, I'm going to tell you, not only is your spring going to be great, your summer and every month to follow is going to be amazing because you have these tools and strategies in your toolkit that allow you to stay in alignment, to focus on the things that excite you, to do the work that you feel called to do, and to stay in alignment with what you want and what your version of success is. I hope you loved today's episode. I'm so pumped that spring is here. Let's take advantage of this beautiful new energy. Thank you so much for listening to this episode today. If you know someone who can benefit from this episode, take a quick second, hit pause, share this episode with them and talk about it together. Maybe you guys hold each other accountable in your spring cleaning and you work through it together. Thank you again for listening to the Goal Digger Podcast. It is such a joy to show up for you each and every single week. And of course, until next time, Goal Diggers, keep on digging your biggest goals. Thanks for pulling up a seat for another episode of the Goal Digger Podcast. I hope today's episode fueled you with inspiration, gave you information that you can turn into action, and realigned you with your true north in life and business. If you've enjoyed today's episode, head on over to goaldiggerpodcast.com for today's show notes, discount codes for our sponsors, freebies to fuel your results, and so much more. And if you haven't yet, make sure you're subscribed so that you never miss a future show. We'll see you next time, Goal Diggers.